yet, but he took me through a way to quit that I could not have done that on my own, but he brought me through that. So I got healthy, I decided to get healthy, and I did. I started exercising, started eating healthy. Everything was really great in the beginning. But the obsession to stay skinny was still so strong. So strong that I went on a diet that was a little bit too strict for me, and it actually caused me to have an eating disorder for the next 5 years of my life. The eating disorder caused me to eat thousands and thousands of calories every meal, every day, days, weeks, months at a time. I could not it was like an alcoholic on like drinking all day. That was my life. All I did was cry and eat and anxiety and lose all my friends and everything. It was just, that was my life. So that was my life on and off for about 5 years. So 4 years into this, 2 years ago, I promised a friend of mine that I was going to go and serve the homeless with her. And on that day, I found myself at the beach crying because of all the shame I felt. I had another binge, so I didn't want to do anything. And I texted her and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it tonight. I'm just too sad. To which she replied back to me, Tammy, come down here, shed the light that God told you to shine.
Come on.
I reluctantly said okay, and I was like, fine, I'll go. Cried my eyes all the way to downtown and said to myself, like, how on earth am I going to be able to give anything that would give any worth to anybody who lives on those streets? Got down there, saw my friends, gave them a hug, and we circled up in prayer, and I was just thinking to myself the whole time, like, I hate who I am, I hate who I am, I hate who I am, I have nothing to offer. Then I started to walk out on the streets, and everything changed. I started to see people sleeping on the sidewalks, living on the streets maybe the majority of their lives. They'd never lived in a nice home at all. I met women with babies that live with their 1-year-old babies on the street because they don't want to leave their husbands. I met people who made the same mistakes as I have, but yet I live in a nice home and they lived on the streets. Before that moment, all I thought about was how ugly I am, how much I hated myself, whether I had a good or bad day on my diet, and how miserable my life was. But the moment I started to serve, those things seemed so small. I started to have a new energy inside of me, and my mind just became clear. So as I started to serve more and more, I started to realize that that volunteering does so much for your life. There's so many benefits to it. And tonight I just wanted to share with you 4 benefits that I've seen so far.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. So the first benefit is it turns your pain, it gives your pain a purpose.
That's good.
So volunteering with the homeless means a lot to me because of the fact that their background isn't very far away from mine. Growing up, I made a lot of mistakes. Drop out of school, drop out of life, alcohol addictions, making decisions that, so many decisions. But because of the fact that their background isn't very far from mine, I really empathize with them. I understand deeply what it feels like to want with every part of you to stop being an addict. I know what it feels like to have no hope in my life and in myself. I know what it looks like to disappoint everybody around you and hurt the ones that mean the most to you. My parents and my family had to pay greatly financially and emotionally because of the mistakes I made. I lost my dad just a few months after I became sober the first time, so I only had a short period of time with him.
Wow.
So lucky for me, I had friends and family that were willing to be there for me when I decided to make a change. I had friends that encouraged me, especially Dr. Alex, that encouraged me. That encouraged me and to believe in myself when I didn't know how to believe in myself at all. I couldn't see those things at all. I found faith in a God during this time that loved me no matter what I did or what I ever will do. So I love the homeless because they don't have that. A lot of them grow up their whole lives without people loving them, telling them that they're worth anything. And I feel like God put me out there because I needed to be that family to them. I needed to be that friend, and I needed to be
That's
that
good.
person that tells them who that God is, right? That's why he turned all the pain that I went through to a purpose. I'm grateful for what I've gone through now because of that.
So good.
The benefit number 2 is that volunteering takes your mind out of your problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love helping people love who they are again. I think it's because I hated who I was for so long. So I do that by cutting hair for the homeless. Sometimes I can be going through my worst week ever. Like the anxiety and stress just seems like it's gonna go on forever. I have such bad anxiety sometimes that my vision can go blurry for days. But the moment I start to cut their hair and look at them, I don't know what happens. The anxiety just goes away and turns into nothing. You know, all that matters is focusing on this person, making sure that they know that they're still a person, that they're still part of society, that they have value, and they mean something.
That's right.
But the crazy thing that happens as a result of that is that I start to feel those things for myself. I start to feel like I matter, that I can make a difference, and that I mean something.
You do.
The third benefit is it helps change the course of other people's lives when you volunteer. So we had a friend named Don. He lived on the streets for several years, and to be honest with you, he didn't have to. He retired from the military, and he retired pretty high ranking, but because of the decisions he wanted to make, he'd rather use that money on the streets and live on the streets only. So when we first met him, we kept coming around, and he was totally closed off to us, didn't want anything to do with us. But as we kept coming around more and more, he learned that we were consistent, and maybe we were telling the truth, that we do care. So he started to open up. And as he opened up, one of our friends, Dan Gossett, which is the one who started Streets of Hope, he started telling me about Jesus and about like the choices he's making. And Don told me that he just eventually, it just sounded right after a while. It sounded right. So he decided to get off the streets. He got a house by the beach. He got a dog. He came back and served with us every Monday. The amazing thing is that that Don got to know who Jesus was, and a few months last year he got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So within a few months he passed away. But the thing that's cool about this is that he passed away feeling at peace during his time, right? Knowing where he was going, which is awesome. Another awesome thing is that his family's been looking for him for 10 years. So the person he was before was not the person he died as. We helped him change the course of who he was. And so we were able to find his family and tell him about who Don became. He became this guy, man of faith, became this guy who was helping and came out and helped with us every Monday. We got to have a service for him, a full service for him, and we got to talk about all the amazing things, and we got to share that with the homeless community that knew him too. So they got to see where his life turned into. And I got to wear his name on my back a couple weeks ago when I did the Tough Mudder, and we represented anybody who we knew passed away from cancer or fighting cancer. And what is awesome about that is that Don would have just been another number on the street. He would have just been somebody who just died, and that was it. But now that we got to do that with him, his memory gets to live on, and we still get to talk about him, and it's an amazing thing. So the fourth benefit of serving is our faith grows like crazy. Through volunteering, and I know you guys seen it for yourselves, but the things that God does in ministries is just so amazing. When I first started serving the homeless, within a few months, God told me, said, you got to cut hair for the homeless. And I was like, I can't do that right now. I'm too busy. I'm working full-time, going to school full-time. I serve at the church. I serve at the ministry every Monday. And God just kept pressing it in. I was like, God, if I do something, I want to do it big, you know? And I don't have time for something big right now. I think it's the C3 culture in me that just wants to do things big, you know? And God just kept saying, you know, do it. So within a few months, I had a friend that said, you know what, if you do it, I'll do it with you. And that gave me the, okay, I'm gonna do it. I did it, and the first night we cut hair for 15 people, but we had a whole team of people. Like we had prayer team, we had people giving out desserts, we had like a whole set of people just covering these people. We felt God's presence there so strong. Yeah, and it's like this every single event. Like it's grown from just cutting hair for 15 people to the last event we served food for 300 people. We have chiropractors, facials, feet washing.
Wow.
You know, we do everything now, and then we have full donations and everything. And then one time I saw people outside, and I was just like, "There's 4 people without shoes tonight," and in the homeless outreach. There's 4 people without shoes. You guys think we can start praying for shoes? And they're like, yeah, but we didn't hear anything for a few weeks. But you know, God, He loves to do things last minute. So God's awesome like that, right? So the night before the event, my leader texts me and says, hey, we got 50 pairs of shoes from Roadrunner for you, right? Yeah, and it doesn't stop there, right? Like, so they come with 50 pairs of new shoes from Roadrunner, and then another guy comes from Roadrunner and says, hey, we have another 50 pairs of shoes. So we gave 100 that night, and then they were like, the next event, we're going to give 150 pairs of shoes for you.
Wow.
And then I think we ended up giving almost 400 or 500 pairs of shoes that year. Just doing that. So, thank you. So in conclusion, since I started serving, my mind has become so much more positive, and my life so much more protective, and my faith has grown so much that it doesn't just affect the ministry part, but the rest of my life. I'm not afraid to step out and do things anymore. Like, just, there's so many things. And Michaela told me about this being on Tuesday. Before, I'd be like, oh no, and then now I'm like, okay, yes, you know? So it's amazing what God does through ministry, and I just want to praise you guys so much for what you guys do in the Kids Church ministry. I mean, be honest with you, I wasn't told I was worth anything and beautiful or anything until I was 22 when I met Alex. And of course, Alex is from this place, right? Yeah, like that was the first time, and it took Alex like 10 years for me to actually believe these things, right? Like, but you guys are working on them now, and I just praise you guys for that, because gosh, it's so valuable. And I know by meeting all these people on the streets, like they needed that back then, you know, and that was the breaking point for them, is that they never got that. You know, these kids, oh my God, they get to know who Jesus is. It's amazing, right? Like somebody to believe in. Oh my gosh. So I just want to thank you guys so much for letting me be out here. You know, I pray that my story just gets people to just want to serve. It doesn't just help. I mean, it doesn't just help like the one you're serving, but it helps us personally, right? Yeah. So